Calls for the resignation of ministers in two Caribbean islands. And in sport, rain saved Sri Lanka on the second day of the third test against West Indies. I'm Ricardo Roberts, and this is Caribbean in 10 for Monday, June 25. I'll be back with the details in just a moment.
Coming up this month on Caribbean Passport, romance, crop over in Barbados, carnival in Antigua and Barbuda, tourism issues, and so much more. So get your passports ready and let's travel.
Violence in schools, media hype or reality? That's the topic for discussion in the next UNICEF-sponsored Activate Talks right here on CaribVision. Activate Talks is a global series by UNICEF designed to spark discussion on issues affecting children and youth. So join us at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, June 27th and find out about violence in schools, media hype or reality.
We begin in Jamaica, where opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips is calling for the resignation of Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley. His call comes amid allegations of mismanagement at the state-run oil refinery Petrojam. Speaking over the weekend at the party's National Executive Council meeting, Phillips said Dr. Wheatley must take responsibility for the alleged breaches as they occurred under his leadership. Now, he says it is clear that the minister has breached public trust and his position in office cannot be sustained. The opposition leader also said that Prime Minister Andrew Holness owes the country an explanation regarding the Petrojam saga. Petrojam is in the midst of a growing firestorm over allegations of victimization, nepotism, and misuse of funds running into millions of dollars at the oil refinery, which is owned by the Jamaican government and Venezuela. Since the allegations have surfaced, 3 board members have resigned, and there are calls for the police to get involved in the investigations. And over in Trinidad and Tobago, opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar is calling for the resignation of National Security Minister Edmund Dillon. She says the current administration is clueless when it comes to solving the crime crisis in the Twin Island Republic. In a statement on Saturday, Persad-Bissessar said Dillon has not presented the country with a clear and viable plan to fight criminal elements and protect citizens and visitors. The statement follows the United National Congress motion of no confidence in the National Security Minister in Parliament on Friday. In a statement, Persad-Bissessar noted that while people are being slaughtered on the streets, in their homes, and even at their places of work, the National Security Minister once again failed to provide any measure of comfort to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. She said in 2 years and 9 months of the Rowley-led government, they have produced nothing and only managed to make the lives of citizens harder. The British Virgin Islands Education Minister, Myron Walwyn, has been elected to lead the ruling National Democratic Party, the NDP. He was chosen by party delegates over the weekend as a replacement for Premier Dr. Orlando Smith, who said he would not be seeking re-election. Walwyn defeated Health Minister Ronnie Skelton, who was also vying for the post in the internal election that was closed to the public. Walwyn's reported running mate Marlon Penn was also successful in his campaign to become party vice president after Deputy Premier Dr. Kedrick Pickering, who was the party's vice president, did not seek re-election. And still in the BVI, sections of that British overseas territory were rocked by a minor earthquake shortly after 7 o'clock this morning. The Department of Disaster Management reported that the 3.4 magnitude quake had a recorded depth of 48 miles. The epicenter of the tremor was located 19.8 miles north-northwest of the capital, Road Town. There were no reports of damage or injury. Today is designated a national day of mourning in Guyana for fishermen who were killed off the coast of Suriname between April 27th and May 3rd. The proclamation made by President David Granger also calls on all ministers as well as governmental and public bodies to fly the national flag at half-staff to demonstrate solidarity with the families of those killed. Survivors of the attack spoke of haunting memories of being assaulted with machetes and forced to jump into the sea by the assailants, who are suspected to be of Guyanese heritage. Some of the survivors also recounted that several victims had batteries tied to their legs. Speaking on the sidelines of the ceremony for Caribbean Financial Action Task Force's workshop for judges and prosecutors, President Granger described the attack as a grave one. He said the country was deeply grieved by the tragedy, adding that his government was in touch with the Surinamese government and police authorities to fully investigate the matter. Stay with us. Your Midday Sport is next. And welcome back. It's now time for sports. Speedster Shannon Gabriel produced a lethal burst in the final session of the second day of the third test to hurt Sri Lanka, but rain continued to toy with the historic day-night test, leaving the contest at Kensington Oval delicately poised. Now, replying to West Indies' 204, Sri Lanka stumbled to 99 for 5 in their first innings to find themselves still 105 runs behind heading into today's third day. Now, Sri Lanka were in turmoil at 16 for 2 shortly after lunch, but looked to rebuilding courtesy of a 59-run third wicket stand between Danushka Gunatilaka, who scored 29, and Kusal Mendes 22 to reach the next interval on 75 for 2. However, Gabriel struck in the second over following the resumption when he forced an unusually injudicious stroke out of Mendes and claimed the right-hander playing on without any addition to the score. Wicketkeeper batsman Niroshan Dikwela was carrying the fight for the visitors on 13 not out of 16 deliveries and was partnered by Roshan Silva on 3. West Indies' tails were up when the rains arrived on the stroke of the half hour to quell whatever momentum they had and handed Sri Lanka somewhat of a reprieve. Gabriel finished with 2 for 42 to move to 19 wickets for the series, while new ball partner Kemar Roach has claimed 2 for 13. And Chris Gayle has thrown his support behind West Indies women in their third bid to recapture the T20 World Cup, set to be staged in the Caribbean in November, and he believes the excitement of the Caribbean culture will make also the tournament a success. Gayle recently attended the Women's T20 Blaze and said he had been very impressed with the level of skill and talent demonstrated by the players, and he believes the Windies can repeat their success. That's Caribbean in 10. Join us again at 6:30 for Caribbean Newsline. Good afternoon.